Hello everybody, it's me, Aspen. I'm doing a little bit of an update video on the Martial Ranger. It's got some it's come out, I think 2 new versions. It's now version 7.0. Uh, Unfortunately, Sai is not going to be sticking with the channel. Some personal stuff went down. Uh, but I'm gonna find a new co-host at some point. I'm doing this update video though because they shared my hype about this class, and I wanted to be respectful. It would feel weird to do an update video on a topic we covered and replace them. I felt disrespectful. But yeah, version 7 of the Martial Ranger is out. And let's talk about the new changes. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Hunter's Prey die scales with your level now. This is a pretty huge change. One of my only issues with the feature beforehand was that it didn't scale, and now that it does, it's fantastic. Natural Healer and Hunter's Prey and the amount of times you can use Hunter's Prey all going up as you level up it really makes you feel like you're getting stronger beyond getting new features. The free action Hunter's Prey was removed when you were applying it to a favorite enemy, but now at initiative you can apply it on one enemy as a free action regardless of if they're favorite enemy, so that's cool. Mighty Strike is now a Hunter's Prey damage die reroll, since the Hunter's Prey damage die already scales with level. Tireless Endurance is now Constitution based and has gone from a 1d10 to a 2d6, which I'm pretty into. Split Focus is altered and pushed further back so that level 13 isn't so crowded. And Apex Predator is a much better capstone ability now. The ability to add... lost my train of thought for a second. The ability to add Wisdom bonus to all attack and damage rolls against creatures marked as prey, in addition to level 20, meaning you can use Hunter's Prey as many times as you want per long rest, I think that's a really good capstone. I've actually been talking with the creator of this class, Agender, Arcee, and one of the things we talked about was the reasoning behind Fey Wanderer and Swarmkeeper not being adapted, and it honestly actually does make a lot of sense, which is that if you remove the additional Conclave spells they get, you can already just sort of apply them to this class. They don't need any adaptation, really, because they just came out with Tasha's. Unlike the Hunter and the Monster Slayer, they don't need any significant alterations. So that's pretty valid. If you were playing a Martial Ranger and you wanted to be a Fey Wanderer or a Swarmkeeper, you could do some very minor adaptation and make that work. Some other minor stuff. Hunters have gotten some little rebalancing things. The multi-attacks specifically, the AoE ones, have gotten very minor buffs, and there's a new one called Focused Barrage that is viable for one-on-one combat, so that at that level you don't get stuff that might never be relevant to you. Horizon Walker now has a feature called Exploit Weakness that replaces an older, less relevant one that I find is cool. The Warden's Druidic Warrior is tied to Hunter's Prey die, which I like a lot. But the main thing in version 7 is an entirely new subclass adapted from an scrapped Unearthed Arcana subclass for the Ranger, the Drake Warden. I was never a huge fan of the Drake Warden, just because the Beastmaster was already a thing. I'm inherently not a huge fan of companion subclasses, so I wasn't that hyped. But reading into this version of it's very cool. You get to choose what type of Drake you have at the beginning, level 3, and you get to choose what elements it has, which will be both the damage of its elemental attack and its resistances. When it dies, well, not when, sorry. Ooh, scary. If it dies, you can heal it back from death with one of your poultices, and as you level up, it grows with you and it gets even bigger. Eventually, you are able to mount it. It can get a flying speed, digging speed, or burrowing, I suppose, and a swimming speed, which are all very cool. It even gets some spell casting, which caught me off guard, but I like it. It just, makes it stand out even more from the Beastmaster. The only thing that I am not a huge fan of is the fact that when you start out, it has just an elemental attack where you do a ranged weapon attack with your Drake, and that's it. But once you get to level 7, it becomes a breath weapon attack, which breath weapon is great, don't get me wrong. The fact that it has AoE is really good. The only reason I'm not a huge fan of it is if you build your character a certain way, your ranged attack modifier might be significantly more likely to hit an enemy than your, save DC for the breath weapon. So I think that personally the elemental attack should remain as an option. It's weaker and it can only hit one enemy, but as a ranged weapon attack, it's better for different situations. Lower AC enemies with better saving throw proficiencies. Level 15, the Drake becomes either large or huge, your choice, and it gets Frightful Presence. So all in all, the Drake is a very cool companion. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure why I would ever use it. Why I would ever pick a Beastmaster over this thing. It feels like it blows the Beastmaster out of the water. Beastmaster has merits, but the Drake Warden is it's very cool. The Beastmaster companion can benefit from Hunter's Prey. It can attack twice and take help action instead of dodge, so that means it can be a little bit more support focused. But I feel like the Beastmaster kind of falls behind in the fact that it doesn't really have any fancy baubles, like the Drake Warden. So I don't really see a lot of people choosing it over the Drake Warden, but they all have their merits. The Drake Warden is very good, and I'm not complaining about that. As of version 7, I think the Martial Ranger is just flat out great. Hunter's Prey damage scaling on its own is great. The class features feel a little bit less cluttered at certain levels. I'm very happy with it. I would love to play it someday, and I actually have created 3 subclasses for the base Ranger as of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, based on features of the Martial Ranger. If you thought that there were certain elements of the new class that were very cool, but you wanted to use the base Ranger. So I'll be including those in the description, along with the updated version of the Martial Ranger. And these are not like official Martial Ranger subclasses. These are just, maybe you have a stingy DM who won't let you use a fully homebrewed class, but they will let you use fully homebrewed subclasses. Or maybe you want to keep a half-caster Ranger, but you want to be able to make medicine or ride a beast. So first off, I adapted the Herbalist to the base Ranger. Their conclave spells are mostly, healing and support kind of stuff. You get I can't read today, folks. You get Natural Healer 3rd level, and it's the base Natural Healer just pushed back 1 level. Resilient Constitution and Herbal Adept are both at 7th level. Resilient Constitution is proficiency in con saving throws, advantage on saving throws against being poisoned. Herbal Adept is you can add your Wisdom modifier to the healing provided by your poultices, and your proficiency bonus is doubled for any skill check you make with an Herbalist kit. Level 11, you get Forager, which +2 plus your Wisdom modifier is the amount of healing poultices you make on a success, and it halves the time you need. And Combat Medic, you can apply a poultice and attack as 1 action. And then 15, Herbal Master, you can now use your healing poultices to remove poison, paralysis, blind, deaf, frightened, or charmed from an ally. Although I've nerfed it a little bit, so you have to choose which condition to end instead of removing all of them, just because, the regular Ranger not having the Natural Healer ability, I feel like this subclass isn't going to reach the same peaks as the Herbalist for the Martial Ranger. It's more focused on just giving the Ranger that healing potential at all. We've also got the Outrider, which I've adapted. I've given it some extra abilities just to differentiate it from the Cavalier Fighter. But, you've got your trusted mount, of course. You create your mount. It has to be use the horse stats, but you can reskin it as a large goat, elk, camel, any kind of ungulate, really, because you're going to be riding it. That is a little bit of a nerf because you can't ride like a big cat or something, but I didn't really want to put any effort into this. That's not true. But so at level 3, in addition to that, you get advantage on wisdom survival checks to forage for food and water at any climate, and a +5 to passive perception during short and long rests. Level 7 is called hit and run tactics. When you're moving out of range of an enemy and they make an attack of opportunity against you, you can make one back as a reaction. Alternatively, if you're using your movement and a creature enters your normal range for a ranged weapon, but would be out of that range at the end of your movement, you can make a ranged weapon attack against them as a bonus action. So like, if you're moving 30 feet and 15 feet in, an enemy enters your range, but by the time you're done moving, they won't be in that range anymore, you can make a bonus action attack as you pass by them. 11th level, you get Mounted Sentinel. Your mount can attack as a free action whenever you attack, and once per round, when a creature enters your attack range, you can make an opportunity attack against them. And then at level 15, Life Bond, your mount's attacks gain an additional damage die, +2 hit points for each of your ranger levels, and both you and your mount gain advantage on death saving throws as long as you are within 5 feet of each other. So this class basically has a lot of focus on like area control and opportunity attack type stuff, with enemies entering or leaving your range, you leaving or entering theirs. For spells, you get some stuff based on your animal, like Calm Emotions and Charm Monster, but you also get some utility and support stuff like Expeditious Retreat and Life Transference. The final one is not actually a conversion of a Martial Ranger subclass, but a new subclass based on the buffs that the Martial Ranger gets to favored terrain at later levels. Ooh, later levels. Haha. So this original subclass is called the Nomad. It's focused on favored terrain. This one also gets Expeditious Retreat, in addition to stuff like Dimension Door, Control Winds. At 3rd level, you get Wanderlust, which lets you change your favored terrain after a long rest and gives you proficiency in the survival skill or another skill if you already have proficiency. And Survivalist, which is essentially a weaker version of Tireless Endurance at 3rd level, but it lets you also apply temporary hit points to a number of allies equal to your Wisdom modifier. And once you get Tireless Endurance at 10th level, it essentially replaces this feature, but you can still apply it to allies. So you can use Tireless Endurance, but apply it to 2 or 3 of your party members. At 7th level is the big one, Terrain Specialist. Depending on your favorite terrain, you get a different bonus. I won't go into all of them in detail because this Google Doc will be available in the description of the video, but for example, Arctic and Desert, you gain resistance to cold and fire damage. Coast and Forest are both, you get 10 feet of either swimming speed or climbing speed, so they're passive buffs mostly. But then at 11th level, Well Traveled, you gain the effects of your favorite terrain bonus from 2 or more terrains. So you could have like multiple damage resistances, multiple types of movements. Wait a second, I think I just realized something while I'm recording this. I misspoke. You don't gain a swimming or climbing speed because by 7th level you have access to roving. It's just increased selective movement speed by 10 feet. Whoopsie. But yeah, 11th level, you can benefit from 2 of your terrains, and then at 15th level, you get a secondary bonus. For example, +1 AC, depending on conditions like if you're wearing light armor or wielding a shield. But the main one is for Arctic, Desert, Forest, Swamp, and Underdark, it changes the damage type of your Hunter's Mark. So Arctic is cold, Desert is fire, Swamp is poison, Underdark is necrotic, and Forest is just, it's considered magical for the sake of overcoming resistances. So this makes it so that Hunter's Prey damage can be boosted in regards to vulnerabilities. And this is acting on the assumption that Hunter's Prey damage is the same damage type as the triggering attack. So, slashing or piercing. So, for example, if it's Forest and you roll a Nat 10, it wouldn't be halved against an enemy who has resistance to slashing or piercing or bludgeoning. So yeah, these are all going to be in the description along with this updated version. I love the new Martial Ranger. I love all of the, what's it called? updates that Agender Arcee has implemented, scaling Hunter's Prey damage as you level up, is fantastic. And it's just a great subclass. I misspoke again. It's a great class. I'm a huge fan of it. I would love to play it someday. And Agender Arcee, you're a great content creator. So keep at it. Or don't, you know? If this is your magnum opus, you could stop. I don't feel pressured. But yeah, so I won't be making another. I know I've only made one video before this, so this is going to sound kind of dumb, but I won't be making another for a while I look for a co-host. But I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that if for some godforsaken reason I am the only outlet you have for Martial Ranger information, that you feel satisfied by what you have. But definitely read up on it, you know, fill out the feedback survey if you play it for Agender Arcee, and everyone have a good day.